All right, welcome to Book Palace 2020. My name is Shane. I'm your host today. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about be obsessed or be average. So I'm in the process of also trying to memorize this, just finishing up this one here. So I have a chunk of it, I would say, enough to have an intellectual conversation about. So right now I'm just memorizing the chapters of this book. See if I can just put this down here. Let's see. There we go. I just got this little tiny tripod that I have here on my table. So let's see if that holds steady. Nice. All right, so this book is pretty fantastic. It's one of my favorite books by Grant Cardones. I haven't read this for, I'm going to say, over a year. I think I read it last summer. I can't recall. So I just went quickly over the titles just to make sure I can remember. And of course, as you know from my previous video, I'm using a technique called the memory palace. So what I do is I just basically go around my house and I remember the items in each room. So in the living room, I'll remember my couches, sofa, fireplace, TV set, and then go outside, I'll remember my patio furniture, and they all got designations as well, and then the garden, etc. So what I did was I just memorized the first few titles of Be Obsessed or Be Average. So when they come in the door, Grant talks about obsession saved his life, and he talks about when he was a child, how he used to get in with the wrong crowd, and a lot of times he'd get in fights. Would be over women, basically making their boyfriends jealous. So he was obsessed, but he had to change it around and change it into something where he could be obsessed about that was healthy, because people are saying, oh man, you're obsessed, you're not going to do this, and you're not going to do that. And they were basically telling him what he couldn't do. And he realized quickly that obsession is not necessarily a bad thing. So if you're working, it's good to be obsessed on that one thing. If you're spread out all over the place, you're probably not going to be too good to anyone. So anyways, he talks in this book about how obsession saved his life. And in chapter 2, he talks about obsession is not an option. You need to be obsessed. Not possessed, obsessed. So he talks a little bit about that in the book, where it's not an option for him. If you watch any of his videos, obviously he's obsessed about real estate, making good deals, all that kind of stuff. And in chapter 3, it's what to be obsessed about. So I use the bathroom because I picture myself looking in the mirror and being obsessed about how I look with my hair. I gotta make sure and button this up. I don't want to show off too many chest hairs. So yeah, and then over at the counter, this is an easy one to remember at my island, is feed the beast. So which is what I try to do pretty much every day. I'm reading books. Like I mentioned, I'm trying to memorize this entire book. And that's part of feeding the beast, is you always got to learn your craft, and you got to constantly be feeding yourself. So when Grant was younger, he took sales courses, and he took everything there was. I don't know if it was Brian Tracy or whoever, some of the first courses that he took, but he mastered the craft of sales. So then one of the things that helped him was starving the doubters, which is chapter 5. And that's basically getting rid of the people that are doubting you. I think one time he mentioned that he had a girlfriend that he was writing in his journal or something just about all the things, all the stuff that he wanted to accomplish and stuff, and she had made a comment like, hey, why are you always doing that? Why are you always obsessed about whatever? He's like, yeah, I don't really need this going on in my life, so ditched her. So basically he got rid of people that were doubters, in a nutshell. Over here, this one is chapter 6, which is dominate to win. So dominate your market. Whatever your market is, you need to dominate it to a point where it's almost like when you're the last one that people remember, they're probably going to be the first ones that are going to make deals with you. So you want to be noticed. You want to be out there all the time. And you got to dominate your market, your niche. So you almost dive down into one specific area. So for me, this channel here, this is basically the niche, if you will, is me trying to remember as much as I possibly can from nonfiction books. I don't really read fiction. Every once in a while I'll pick up a fictional book when I'm on holidays or something. But 97% of the time I'm reading nonfiction books over and over again. So I've already read this one a couple of times. I have the audio version of this book. I also have the digital version so I can highlight stuff in my Amazon Fire. But anyways, going on with this, I use my patio door walking through it. Stay dangerous. It reminds me of Top Gun and Tom Cruise, where in the locker room, Ice, I forget the guy that went up to, yeah, it's Ice, goes up to Maverick and says, you're dangerous. And Tom Cruise's character, Maverick, says, that's right, I am dangerous. Anyways, stay dangerous. That's that chapter, chapter 7, I believe it is. And then you need to be obsessed with sales. So you have to learn the craft of sales. You have to learn how to sell. So that's another chapter. And then going out into my garden, over-promise, over-deliver. I promised my wife that I would help her with the garden. We finished it on time, on schedule, on budget. Actually, a little bit over budget, but hey, over-delivered. Like, the garden looks fantastic, and I'll show it to you in one of my other videos. Basically ripped out the grass and all this kind of good stuff. But anyways, that's that chapter. And then you have to be obsessed with building a team. So he talks about that, how to build a team, how to build a good team that's going to be on the same page as you. And in order to do that, you kind of have to be a little bit of a control freak. If you know anything about Grant Cardone, he is a little bit of a control freak. He'd tell you that himself. He has to control everything, which is not a bad thing. And then you have to be obsessed with persistence. You have to be obsessed with that. And then finally, I think that's finally, the last thing is obsession forever. So you have to be obsessed forever. So yeah, so that's the book. So let's just make sure and verify that I was correct. So number 1 is I don't have my reading glasses, so I could kind of see that. So obsession saved my life, and it will save yours. So I missed that part. So I'm also having to read it backwards on my phone, but obsession is the only option. Why don't I do this? 3 is what to be obsessed about. That's kind of a weird way to do it. What to be obsessed with. Feed the Beast was with my island. Starve the Doubt, which is the TV. Basically getting rid of all the doubters. Dominate to win, which is the table. I just picture a Risk board game here and dominating, because I dominated Risk all the time. Can destroy anybody at Risk. 7, stay dangerous. That's my patio door. Tom Cruise standing in the way. Obsessed with sales, which is chapter 8. Chapter 9, over promise, over deliver, which is my garden. Chapter 10, build an obsessed team. I picture a bunch of hockey players on my swing set. Be a control freak, which is the barbecue. I actually know a guy that cooks steak fantastic. His name is Lauren, and I picture him cooking steak. He's obsessed with cooking steak, so he's a control freak as well. And so is Grant Cardones. And then obsessed with persistence, so I have the stove there. So if you're teaching somebody how to cook, you got to do it over and over again. And then obsession is forever. So that's the last one, and it's backwards. So anyways, that's the book. Gave you a little snapshot of what this book is about, a little bit. Like I said, I haven't read this book for over a year, but I have read it a couple times, so it kind of sticks in my head. So that's that. And then like I mentioned in the other video, I got several chapters. This island over here is the Valley of Suffering. This one here is you're wrong about everything, but so am I. And then out there in the garden, it's kind of weird because they're starting to overlap. So I don't know how many times I could reuse the same palace. That's why I'm saving stuff for upstairs. So I got more bedrooms upstairs. I also have the basement that I could use. I can actually look at my living room, and I'll just show you this. I could just look at drop the phone. Can you believe that? Let's see. There we go. Hey, everything's good. Good thing I had an OtterBox, eh? All right, so over here. This is so silly, this video. Anyways, I used to practice with remembering items as well. So I have like 6 or 7 items as well as books memorized in here. So like that wall is an elephant coming out of the wall, and then I have hamburger stains all over my couch. I don't eat hamburgers there on the couch, but that's what I picture in my head because that was one of the items I memorized. My TV set is a mustache, and then you got a fireplace which is this train, which is making steam come out of, and then the glass there is actually glasses. So I just picture prescription glasses so I can see better out into the backyard. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, like I said, I don't have a good memory. Memory's terrible. So I'm really trying hard to use this memory palace technique so that I could remember the books that I've read, because I absolutely love reading books. But there are times where I've just absolutely blasted through a book, and then afterwards, after maybe a week or so, I'm like, man, can't remember what the second chapter was about, what the third chapter, what the ending was. I can't remember the author. Terrible, terrible. And I have so many books that I bought over the last couple of years that my goal now is to reread these books with the idea of storing them into my personal memory palace. So I call it the book palace, because that's the majority of the stuff that is going into my palace is going to be books that I have read. So that's the goal of this channel. Hopefully this has encouraged you. If you really knew me deep down inside, you'd think it would be a miracle for me to remember one chapter, let alone 9 or 12 chapters or whatever, right? So there you go. So if you don't know anything about the Memory Palace, I would encourage you to check it out. There's also a guy that I've been following as well on YouTube. His name is Ron White. I think this guy is like the Wayne Gretzky of memory. So there you go. So that's it for today. I will see you guys in the next video. And if you haven't subscribed, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Like it, comment. It just helps the algorithms. It helps my videos to start moving up in the ranks. So I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. See you later.